I think I think everybody can kind of agree on this one. I'll take this one first, Justin. Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals. Do the Cincinnati Bengals need to shut Joe Burrow down? The answer is 100% yes. Yes. Justin, he doesn't look the same. He doesn't look like the same quarterback. He doesn't look like the same guy. And I know there was a report that not even a report. He actually said this. I feel much better than I have the past 4 weeks or whatever. Yeah, I'm not buying it, man. Because what you're putting out on the field is you can't throw the ball down the field. I can go over the numbers. I won't bore you, but it's just consistently the passing yards down the field, how many yards per attempt. It's just all down. It's all below league average. It's really, really down. It the reason I say this, Justin, too, is you need to protect the player from themselves sometimes, right? Like you can ask almost any professional athlete in any sport. They're always going to want to play. They're always going to want to fight if you want to talk about fighting or whatever the case may be. Zach Taylor needs to save him from himself, save Joe Burrow from himself. He needs to step in and say, Joe, I don't want you to end up like another Andrew Luck. Don't want that to happen. Okay? You've already torn your ACL. I think he's had 2 knee surgeries, if I'm not mistaken, one in college and then one his rookie season. And now you got a calf injury. And I've said this, and people will continue to say this too because it's the truth. With the calf injury, you have to be so freaking careful because when your calf is injured, it weakens your Achilles. That is what happened to Aaron Rodgers. I know Joe Burrow is in his 20s and Rodgers 38, but still, a weakened calf is a weakened calf. And I just don't want him to suffer a worse injury and severely compromise his career because that is what could happen. Shut him down. Give him 2 weeks, right? They have a bye in 2 weeks, Justin, after the Seahawks game. Rest him this week, rest him next week, rest him for the bye, and then have him ready to go, giving him 3 weeks off. Because I just don't think that the season is salvageable. You're 1-3. You already have 2 divisional losses. And on top of Joe Burrow being injured, Justin, they can't fucking protect him again. They can't protect this guy again. Justin, I'm just going to quickly read this off to you, and then I'll let you go. I'm going to give you these stats because I did a little digging on the offensive line of the Bengals, and then I did a little bit more digging because something popped in my head. I was like, the Bengals' offensive line has sucked, right, since Joe Burrow's been around. I'm like, who the fuck is their offensive line coach? So I looked him up, and I did a little digging on him. So bear with me here, right? The offensive line for the Cincinnati Bengals right now, pass blocking is rated 27th in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. This is all according to Pro Football Focus. 18th in run blocking. Justin, last year, their pass blocking was 31st in the NFL, 21st in run blocking. In the Super Bowl run, Justin, their pass blocking was 29th, and their run blocking was 20th. Now, I know you remember after the Super Bowl run, they spent a lot of money on that offensive line. I have the number. They spent $74 million on the offensive line after that Super Bowl run. I just gave you the numbers. They got worse in pass blocking. They went from 29th to 31st. They spent an additional 4 years, $64 million on Orlando Brown this offseason. They've improved 4 spots to 27th so far through 4 weeks. They can't protect him. And now I'm going to give you this guy, the offensive line coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. No idea who this guy was before looking him up. Mr. Frank Pollock. I think everybody needs to know this guy's name because this was outstanding when I went through this, Justin, because it just kept getting worse. I was like, what is this? How does this guy have a job? He's been the offensive line coach since 2021. I did some digging on him. Since 2015, his first season with Dallas as the offensive line coach. Dallas Cowboys. Remember that offensive line back then, and even now it's been elite ever since, right? In 2015, he had the number 1 ranked pass blocking offensive line. 2015. The years after that, he dropped to 14th, 20th, and 24th. 24th was when Cincinnati, when he went to in Dallas, he went from number 1 to 14 to 20th with the Dallas offensive line. Then he went to Cincinnati for 1 year in 2018, had the 24th ranked offensive line, left, went to the New York Jets for 2 years in the Jets, 28th and 31st. This guy's fucking terrible. He needs to go. Maybe it's not the talent because they've hired so many Ted Caceres from the Patriots. We know he was solid as a center. He's nothing to, be incredible, but he's solid. Alex Kappa played on the offensive line for the Bucs in the Super Bowl run. Jonah Williams, really good first-round pick. Orlando Brown, solid offensive tackle. Lyle Collins, solid offensive lineman. They've got players. Maybe it's not the talent. Maybe this guy just can't fucking coach. Frank Pollock needs to go. So I wrap that all up with Justin, and I'll wrap it up with Mr. Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor, don't think we forgot about you. Joe Burrow saved your ass. The only reason you still have a job is because of Joe Shiesty. Save Joe Burrow from himself, put him on the bench, rest him for the next 3 weeks, and save your own fucking ass. Because you'll be the first one to go if this ship goes sideways. I give it to you, Justin.
So that was hilarious, bro. I'll give you that. That absolutely made me laugh. But I had no idea. Those are staggering stats by the offensive line coach.
How does this guy have a job, Justin?
I don't know how he's still in. I don't know how he found himself on a top threat in the AFC, but he's definitely changing their narrative right now. But to touch on what you said about Joe Burrow sitting, I don't see it. I can't see them sitting him, and I wouldn't. And I understand why you say, oh, the protection. Yeah, he's being rushed probably faster than any quarterback in the NFL right now. With Daniel Jones too. But his schedule, bro, he has the Arizona Cardinals next, which is no slouch to sleep on because they've been playing tough football. You got Seattle after that, and then you got San Francisco. So I look at these 2 games against Arizona and I look at Seattle as winnable games. This team is too talented for me to just say, you got to write them off. I feel like they're way too talented for me to do that. And at any moment, Joe Burrow can get hot, Jamar Chase can get hot, and company can get hot. And then the offense goes steamrolling through a bunch of people. Now, we haven't seen any life out of this offense pretty much at all. I mean, the most points they scored, I think, was week 2 against the Ravens in a loss. But outside of that, it's just, I think you will start seeing some semblance of life. I think it's just Joe Burrow getting healthy. And I know what you said, give him his rest, let him take his time. By that time, you're playing for nothing if you do that.
My whole point is why to rest him now and why I would have rested him starting it last week because I'm forgetting who the hell they played last week. Who they played? Titans, right? Mm-hmm. They got blown out. Justin, there's a reason you have a backup quarterback. If your starting quarterback is compromised, he should be able to come in there and salvage a couple of games here and there.
Well, the reality of it is, I think you're in too deep now.
If you're no, I don't think you are because listen, if you believe that, again, this goes back to the backup quarterback. Have a better backup quarterback, and you can believe and be like, all right, Joe Burrow, take a rest. You say these are winnable games. I think these are winnable games with their backup quarterback. They have the talent on the offensive end. Feed Joe Mixon 30 times. And then just make it real easy on the young quarterback who I'm forgetting who the hell that Jake Browning, I think his name is. Just make it easy on him. Like you can play. There are ways to work around having a backup quarterback in there and playing smart football.
I completely understand, but at this point, you lose 2 games here. You lose these next 2 games, you're already out of the mix.
But lose these 2 games and Joe Burrow gets even more hurt. You might be out for the next 2 years.
No, see, that's the thing. I get what you mean. The mistake was starting in week 1. You didn't need to start him right away.
That's okay. I agree with you. But now we're in
week 1. But now you're in this deep. He's the competitor. He's gonna go out there.
Dustin, if you were the coach, if you were Zach Taylor, you're telling me you would continue to play Joe Burrow?
Yes.
Yeah.
Call me crazy.
I think
But-
you would. I think you'd lose your job. I think if you're Zach Taylor, you have to look at it and say, dude, if he tears his Achilles and he goes down this year, and he's probably going to miss the majority of next year, if not the entire year, I'm going to be shit team the next 2 years. That is not good on my resume. I know my ass will be out before Joe Burrow.
Unless there's something telling me, all right, he's at risk of this, he's at risk of that. It's better to shut him down so he could go through surgery, something like that. Then you do it. But if surgery isn't required,
no surgery is required. You just need rest. He needs to rest himself.
That's my point. If surgery is not required, everybody's playing hurt.
Okay,
everybody is. So you're a top tier AFC team. Going into the season, you're a Super Bowl contender. You're a threat. You get off to this horrendous start. You're 1-3. That is still salvageable.
Mm-hmm.
That is still salvageable. They may not be, if the Ravens go on a run, they may be completely out of the division. But they're not out of the wild card. And they almost beat the Ravens at that.
They already have 2 divisional losses.
I completely understand that. But again, I don't think the Browns are going to be anything to sleaze at. They are something to sleaze at. I don't think they'll be in the running at the end of this. So you can compete. You have to win the games that are in front of you. Arizona and Seattle are in front of you. Those are winnable games. We'll be talking about Cincinnati in a completely different narrative if they steal those 2, going up against San Francisco and a big game against Buffalo on Sunday night. If we see life from that offense, I'm not taking them seriously against San Francisco because I think San Francisco is just running over everybody.
And again, I'm afraid for that because San Francisco is going to come at this guy.
Of course they are.
And that's just, again, like I'd rather him going in with 3 weeks of rest going into that game than him playing 2 weeks of tough ass football.
Yeah, but at that point, you go 3 weeks of rest. You don't play him against the Cardinals. You don't play him against the Seahawks. Then you said the bye week, right? Bye week and then San Francisco. What are you playing for at that point?
Well, I'm hoping that my backup quarterback can at least go 1-1.
That's such a big hope.
You should be able to beat the Cardinals with their backup quarterback.
Wins. Yeah, but you know what? I can't even say that. The Cardinals are playing tough football.
Listen, I'm sorry. You're the Bengals. I know Joe Burrow is that dude, but you should be able to beat the goddamn. I'm not saying you can beat the 49ers. I'm saying you can beat the Cardinals. A close game, you can beat them 20-17 or something like that. That's all I'm saying.
Everything needs to go right because Cardinals defense have been playing tough football. You put in a backup quarterback to win. These are must-win games now.
Yeah. I hear you.
I want to go. I'm not going my backup quarterback for a must-win game.
And listen, if they do lose the next 2 games, I think you bench Joe Burrow possibly for the whole season.
Then maybe so. Then you'll consider that.
Not bench him. Rest him. Obviously, not bench him.
Yeah. Then you'll consider that, but I don't think so.
All right.